Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of This Meets That, the show where Ben and I take two movies and mash them together, and we would say it's like this meets that. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to coming up with brand new movie ideas to pitch to studios that we won't get made.
Yeah. And this we may have a little bit of a break after this. We may not have as many opportunities to record next week.
Next week, yeah.
Next week.
Some
stupid things happening.
Stupid things happening.
Just taking my Saturday away.
Yeah, just putting rings on fingers. I don't know. Some ancient tradition that's outdated. Who knows?
Do we have to really dress up and go to a place to do this? Can't you do it at home? I mean, you see each other.
I mean, if I could do a mishmash of it's like this wedding meets our home, I'd be all for it. Yeah. But unfortunately, the studio didn't like that idea, so they were going for a big budget production. Here I am.
Damn. I mean, if they were smart, they could really save on this and put that money towards something else.
We could do a low-budget indie, and then it's going to rake in all that money that we could spend towards a bigger budget other project.
Your infrastructure of your production.
We're betting it all on black. So,
okay. Well, good luck with that.
This makes it sound like I'm really against this. I'm really not, everybody. I'm looking forward to it very much.
Anywho. All right, I got a movie. You got a movie?
I do have a movie.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Waterworld.
Parasite meets Waterworld.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, post-apocalyptic, low on resources. Parasite's very much of like the haves and the have-nots. You could definitely transfer that to the Dennis Hopper character. He's running this water world, and he has the cigarettes, and he has the clean drinking water.
I've actually never seen Waterworld all the way through, so you're gonna take charge of this one.
So pretty much, the ice caps have melted, and everybody is kind of just living on whatever's floating in the ocean. They try to tie these ships together. They have like the last bit of oil that keeps their jet skis and motorboats and airplanes going, and they're trying to find the only piece of dry land, which is tattooed on this little girl's back. And Kevin Costner has lived in the water on the ocean so long, he's evolved and he has gills, and he's able to breathe underwater for a limited amount of time. That's the basic premise, and he's trying to help the girl. He's a reluctant guy pulled into this crazy thing, and Dennis Hopper is trying to kill him.
So how would you bring in Parasite? I mean, obviously there's a class structure to Waterworld and Parasite, and Parasite is just one big allegory for the class structure, but then it also has this underlying mystery of people who live under this house in a secret apartment. So what are you doing with that in the Waterworld?
I think,
is it just you have the world is essentially sunken. There's the last remnants of humanity who maybe live in... Maybe there's this island. It's the last island on the planet. And you have warring tribes or whatever. Or you have there's people who live on this mountain. It's the higher you live up on this peak, the better you are, the better off you are, because maybe slowly this island is, every year, a couple more inches come in.
Yeah,
it's eventually the people at the bottom will,
drown.
Yeah. But then...
Just they lived in their basement house, and when it rains, it flooded, and they were flushed out.
And obviously, all the animals who have lived, it's they're also kind of all huddled together. So maybe there's a lot of hunting, or maybe there isn't many animals because everyone's just starving. So it's so either you have so many animals that they're there's tigers there who are just brutally murdering people. It's okay, well, I mean, I guess you would have ways to defend yourself. So forget that.
Whatever.
But long story short, I imagine it's okay, so there's the people up at the top. It was okay, well, maybe you complete some game, or maybe we need certain people to come up and serve us or whatever. And so it's if you're lucky, you get to live on the mountain with these people. But what you don't realize is that actually there's a thriving world. It's just there's a tunnel that leads down. The world governments knew that the world was going to end in this way, so they built sort of this hidden base where it's just it's essentially society as it was before, just kind of underwater in this world. And it's just all these people now on this island. One person got out, figured it out, and it's okay, now we need to overthrow the mountain and have this kind of big battle sequence and like take back the mountain so we can live under and like succeed, because like now they've developed they can grow crops underground because they have the UV lights or whatever. Sure. And it's like there's even like this big old city, there's like enough resources for everyone and we can all live comfortably. There's like big beds so we don't have to sleep on like hay or whatever. Sure. Or, you know,
but the people who ran the show at this bunker, you know, they wanted to kind of be the ruling class, so they've kept it secret, and they do still live on the outside. Oh, okay, wait, hold on. Rewind.
Let's get it.
So you have the ruling family or whatever it is. It could be a large family, small family. Who cares how they got there? But they do, like, it seems like every year they're going down to the lower tribes and saying, we need someone to pretty much become our servants, but they make it a big deal, like, oh, how lucky it is. You get Colin, you're the chosen people to come in and help us. And they do, and they serve, and these people are just living the life of luxury.
Gods on Mount Olympus.
Exactly. But there is someone who has been living in that bunker, and they have kept it secret, and so they are spying on the people who get chosen to become workers, and if he thinks that they are willing to overthrow the government, he lets them in. And then the people are the ruling people are just like, we're missing another one. Like every year we ask a bunch of people to come up and then they just go missing. It's like, is someone killing these people? They have no idea. Right. And they could maybe be so oblivious that they're just kind of like, oh, did they die? Whatever, bring another one up. And so the person that's in the bunker is amassing this army and kind of radicalizing them and letting them know what the truth is about the people ruling above, and then fighting back. And then the mountain sinks in the ocean and they all die anyways.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, like, I imagine whichever choice you do, it's either, I imagine at some point it's like, okay, let's say in my movie, they take the mountain and they discover that there's this place under the island or whatever. It's like, oh, this whole stuff, it's like, you guys have been living like this for 50 years, 100 years or whatever. We could have all been like living in harmony. It's like, no, well, like we wouldn't have, because if we let all you people in, it would have been mass chaos, and you know,
and then that sort of structure would have just moved down here.
And then it's like, well, one way or another, the island is gonna sink under the water, and maybe the bunker can't sustain as long, like maybe it needs sort of the island, at least in some regards, like it pulls stuff. So it's just like, so they're just like, fuck it, and they just like destroy the bunker itself, and they're like, all right, we're just gonna live our last days out on this island, and then once it's over, it's all over.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Maybe the bunker people, they're being very selective of who they get, and they take in this guy, and he's like, oh, well, yeah, I'll totally join your revolution, but I want to bring my wife with me. And they're like, no, we've seen your wife. She's kind of a bootlicker. She's not going to really go for this, and she can throw a wrench in this whole situation. And it's like, well, if we all can't be a part of this, then like no one is. And you know, and so then you're fighting within the thing that's fighting for the bigger thing, and all sorts of turmoil. And then it could just be a character that says like, screw it, and like opens up the airlocks and all the water comes in and just kills everyone. I imagine
there's a sequence where like there's water pouring in. It's kind of like very much Titanic. It's just like very somber music plays as like the captain, the leader of this underground people or whatever, just kind of like going down with the ship as like the whole thing slowly fills up. It's like, oh, look at how we've mirrored the world that like, this had happened before and we're repeating it again, but just on a much smaller scale. It's like, we brought this on ourselves. It's like the bunker slowly fills up with water. It just kills everyone inside. The hundreds or thousands of people who are in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just good. Like, Destiny's kind of like, you know, humans will always be humans, and it's going to always play out the same way. It just might play out in a way you weren't expecting, but it always ends the same.
Yeah. All right. So what are we calling it? The first thing that came to mind was like rising tides, because it's like rising tides raise all ships, which is like a false statement, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think rising tides is pretty good because it also, you know, kind of symbolizes the uprising and the rising of war, and
when the water is constantly rising because of the place is sinking.
I think rising tides is good. It's ominous enough. Yeah. Rising tides.
Yeah, I like it. It works. Yeah. Cool. Pretty simple, but functional.
Yeah, or I guess the only other thought I had was High Tide, and it's like, but it's Rising Tides is better.
Yeah.
It's like High Tide is like it's up high, and it's like a
High
level
society,
thing.
yeah.
But Rising Tides is good.
Yeah.
Go with Rising Tides.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, that one's not so bad.
Not too bad.
Do you have a second movie?
I do.
Okay. I think I have one as well.
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Jumanji.
Snowpiercer.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know if we've done Snowpiercer before. The downside to me picking this is that it is the same theme as Parasite.
Sure. Well,
But-
you chose the director.
I did. But I'm sticking with it because sometimes it's like, oh, well, let's take the same theme, but just mix it up with a different thing and get a completely different movie.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But with Jumanji.
Okay, so you have cursed board game that takes you into a fantasy world, or could potentially take you into a fantasy world, depending on which Jumanji you're really basing it off of. But you got to play a game where there is some sort of world warping. Either their stuff's coming through, or we're going to them. And then Snowpiercer, you have
Almost all of the world is
Snowpiercer. Waterworld seems like it's Snowpiercer, but on a boat. You know, It's not frozen; it's just water.
Yeah.
Okay. But Snowpiercer, you have this train that has to constantly be moving in order to keep the last people on Earth alive.
The whole world's covered in ice.
In ice, it's unlivable, and this train goes all the way around the world, constantly staying in like
perpetual motion.
in view of the sun.
Oh,
because
yeah,
that's also the warmest. Because if they're on the dark side, the train probably would freeze. It's so bad. And then you have every car is a different thing. One's a classroom, one's where they store the food, and then you get the people in the tail who kind of snuck aboard at the very beginning. You know, they're the scum of society.
Okay, so with Jumanji, you have the board game aspect, and I think what's cool about Snowpiercer and as a train is like imagine a board game and you move spaces. Well, that's what a train is. A train is individual spaces.
Sure.
So obviously I think you'd have to make, so let's say you have two kids and they're playing Snowpiercer the game. We're just going to call it that because
it's just easy.
It's a placeholder for right now.
Yeah.
And so they roll the dice and they go, okay, I moved two spaces, and maybe you each start out with your own little characters, like your Monopoly pieces or whatever, and one person is the mechanic, one person is the
warrior,
one person is the
teacher,
something. And whoever you pick, obviously you roll the dice, you get sucked into the game by accident, and now it's like, okay, so now you have to make your way to the end of the board, and if you get to the end of the board, you get out. Now, where's that movie been?
I don't know. I think the closest thing I can think of that already exists now is a show called Infinity Train, where this girl...
It's a terrible title, but...
Well, it's a train that has infinity amount of cars, and every car is like almost like a TARDIS where anything could happen. So there's one where you have to solve this huge Scrabble puzzle in order to open the next car door, and they're trying to get to the conductor because they're trapped here and they have like numbers on their arm, kind of like in time, and they don't know what it means, and they want to go back home, and you're kind of learning life lessons as you go, and there's lots of crazy things. And then the next one, it's like sentient sandcastles or whatever, and you got to do something in that sentient sandcastle world in order to go to the next train as well. That kind of has a little bit of vibe of this, where
okay.
I was just going to say, like, I've always wanted with Jumanji, and then we got with Zathura, like, why not do other versions of this? So Zathura's our space one. Well, if you had a Abominable Snowman mountain game, I can see, like, a Snowpiercer type thing with Jumanji. Or you do the desert, or you do medieval times, since we've already done the jungle.
I mean, I guess with Jumanji, like, the Jumanji in itself is, like, a game doesn't make sense. Because all it is you roll until you get to the end, and it's like you roll and then something awful comes out. But it's not like, oh, a lion comes out. Well, how do you stop the lion? You feed it meat, or you have to just escape the lion. Or it's like, okay, now the monkeys are out. How am I? It's like, it's just, here's an obstacle that's just thrown at you for no reason. It's just, hopefully you get to roll until survive long enough to get to the end of the game.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, well, what if like so it's not necessarily roll the dice. It's like you take your characters and then you move one space, and this space now is for the sake of comparing it to Jumanji, this is the jungle car. Like, each different car is its own sort of like portal to another world. And that's the Jumanji aspect of it. It's and each car has its own challenge. So like, if it's the jungle world, maybe there's animals who are constantly trying to get you, but you have to solve some sort of puzzle to get to the next car. And so it's just, okay, now there's 10 cars, whatever. And then it's just like, it takes place on a train, but the world is big, or like the next train might be some sort of like temple kind of thing. It's like, okay, now I have to solve the puzzle in the temple. I have to place the 3 monkey pieces together, like in Legend of the Hidden Temple, to get to the next car. And so it's just like your characters are completing challenges, and you get sucked in this game, and if you don't complete them, you die or whatever. And then you get to the final car, and you have to face whoever the train conductor is, this mysterious train conductor, and you find out through each car, you get another piece of the puzzle that leads you to find out who this man is, what his goal is, what the world is, and why this train exists. Because I mean, the story of Jumanji doesn't really, you don't get any backstory into what this thing is. It's just some
magic thing,
some magical board game that exists. There's no, it was buried deep down in the ground for some reason. It's like before board games were even being made, really. It's nonsense. So is this a kid's movie? Is it an adult movie? What is it?
I don't know. I think that one that you just pitched, it's so similar to Infinity Train, but I can see that being a kid's thing. So we're kind of like, we're putting Jumanji into Snowpiercer. Can you put Snowpiercer into Jumanji? That's kind of hard. Like, is it normal world, but the game they are playing is a train-based game?
I mean, the only way I can see that is if you do Squid Game, but on a train kind of thing, where it's just like, you take a bunch of nobodies and you put them in a deadly scenario, and it's like, all of you could die, but your goal is to make it to the other end of the train, and the winner gets a ton of money. And you set it in the real world, but like, each car is some new deadly challenge you need to, and like, you guys can work together, but just know that only one person gets to win when you get to the end. And maybe there is a train car just filled with like a bunch of dudes with axes. And can you make it through those guys? Do you kill them? Do you just run through? Do you like open up the train door and hopefully suck them all out or something? Maybe it's like, the Snowpiercer aspect of it isn't necessarily it has to be like frozen outside, but it's like, if you step out of the train, something deadly is out there. You won't survive outside the train, even if you get out. So I think that might actually be more fun than the weird game we're trying to pitch. It's like, what if we just put them in a deadly game on a train?
Yeah, and because I was saying, like, what if the train made stops and you had to get off to do the thing?
Or maybe not even get off, but it's like, the trains are the train stations are your break, where you can, like, depending on who survived, okay, in the next one, here's one weapon. Everyone gets to choose one, and that's what you get to bring on the thing. Or like, or maybe you don't choose a weapon. Maybe you choose a first aid kit or something. It's like, there's, like, every time you stop, you get some sort of advantage for whoever's left. And or you can sabotage other people's things. Like, the train station is the rest, like, where you can sleep until your next...
where you save your game and customize your character.
Customize your character until you have to get on to the next car, which is the next level of the game. Or maybe you choose something that would be a disadvantage to you in the next car, but you don't know because you don't know what the next challenge is. Or maybe somebody can find a clue in the first car that will help them in the second car. Or whoever does the best, whoever reaches the other end first gets an advantage. That kind of thing. I think that could be kind of a fun aspect of it.
I'm getting some Cube vibes, but
I never saw Cube.
It's pretty interesting. That'd make a fun video game. Yeah.
And you call it Death Train. No.
Yeah, what would you call this?
All
Aboard? Like,
oh, shit.
Board game and...
Ben. Slam dunk, my friend. All aboard. It was sitting right there.
Nice. With an exclamation point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if you want to do themes, maybe the person who has this train is like, okay, I want you to play a game, but each train car is based off of a popular sort of board game. It's like, all right, this car is chess, but now it's wizard's chess. You know? It's like, and you all and whoever's in the train has to be different pieces, and it's like someone is, the chess master, but it's like you might sacrifice someone, and that person might die.
Oh yeah, I'm playing the pawn, and then my pawn takes this pawn. You have to actually kill the person. Maybe,
or I mean, I think there's a way you could do it. I mean, obviously you need whatever, it's 24 pieces. I forget how many is on a chessboard. But if there's 24, it's like, are only 5. I mean, you could play a chess game and like everyone dies except for one. It's like, are you going to try and play defense and save everyone, or like how much? That'd be real hard to not have a bunch of people get killed.
Yeah.
And if you're trying, it's like part of chess is like sacrificing things.
Yeah.
It's like it's next to impossible to win chess without like a bunch of things.
But maybe the people who are like, just because you're a piece doesn't mean you get to control where you're going. It's 2 other people playing the chess game. You just have to do the piece stuff. So they may say go forward because they're sacrificing you, and you can't do anything because you're not in control.
Yeah, I mean, that might be a fun thing to do if there's 50 people and 24 and 24 and
like the tug of war.
Yeah, it's like you break them up. It's like, okay, this is the first round. Half of you are fucking dying right here because some of you, or whoever wins this chess game is.
I would not be surprised if chess or checkers is in the next Squid Game.
Oh,
I bet.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, and like, what if they do? You're doing a battleship or whatever, and they're looking out the window as they're driving by this lagoon, and they're watching ships blow up in the distance, and they're like, yeah, we're really playing these games.
Interesting. That could be fun. Yeah. All aboard. Damn. Fuck you, Ben. That's good. I can't believe I didn't think of it.
Yeah. Like if you do the board game aspect more than the crazy world of Jumanji, where it's like you are living the games, not that game. So you could have something as simple as Chutes and Ladders or Connect 4, but it has these kind of crazy results. It doesn't have to be as dark or whatever, but maybe people do just get, if you're doing a kid's version of this, you do just get eliminated Willy Wonka style, and you want to try to get to the conductor because of whatever.
Yeah. I mean, there's no real reason for the train other than like the visual aspect of just like each individual room.
But maybe the train's heading to something, and you have to get to the control. What's the front in the engine to stop it before it blows up and hits the city or whatever.
Yeah. It's just another different, and maybe it's like that's the thing. It's just like everything. The windows maybe are screens or whatever, but they can like show you. It's like, you can see your family. This is what you're fighting for. Here's another thing. It's just like maybe they're playing, like maybe they've been spying on the people that they've chosen for specific reasons. Just like, oh, we're gonna play this clip of you like robbing this old lady. So it's just like, oh well, I think that person's bad. Maybe I'll make him a pawn and sacrifice him. But what you don't realize is just like he was stealing that to feed his infant daughter who's like going through leukemia or something like that. It's just like, it's playing mind games with you. Oh, I like that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially, a very Squid Game, especially since Squid Game is a Korean show. And,
but there's still similar things of, like the ruling class and keeping down.
Yeah, I mean, that's people. All there. I think you could do it in a fun way. I don't think you could do it now. This is like, you have to wait till Squid Game's over for a few years before you really like pitch this show.
Yeah, because if people said like, oh, it's like Jumanji meets Snowpiercer. And then they watched it, and they're like,
"Oh, this is Squid Game.
This is Squid Game.
This is Squid Game on a train."
Yeah, Squid on a train. Squid Game on a train. Squid Game on a train.
But all aboard.
All aboard.
But if you just base instead of childhood games, I mean, they're all childhood games, but it's like just based off of board games.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Cool. I like that.
Okay, let's go with that.
Yeah,
all aboard.
I think I like it more now that it has a title.
Yeah.
Everything kind of like makes a little more sense. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And so, all right, real quick before so let's say you make it to the end.
Mm-hmm.
You make it to the train conductor, and he's like, all right, you're the last one. You're playing me in a game, one-on-one. What game is it? Because chess seems like the logical choice, but chess is too fun to pass up, I think.
Yeah,
so
and especially if you are doing it with a larger group and you are doing the thing where half of the people are being cut from it, you have to do that relatively early, I think. So
it's just
would it be
rock, paper,
scissors? Is something as simple as that? But that's not a board game, you know.
Or is it like two people make it to the end, and then you have to face those and it's like not really about taking down the train conductor because the train is always in motion. There's always more games to play, and it's just like you just get the money and you just get let off of the train at the last station, you know. So
something with you rolling dice and the train is rolling along, you know. But is
there any games that's like that involves trains and tracks? I mean, I know there's like Ticket to Ride is a board game,
bigger games,
but I don't know if there's like a
I don't know.
That would be funny if it's just like you do all these like horrible things. It's like, yep, it's just rock, paper, scissors, game of chance, best 3 out of 5.
Yeah, like the last two people coming in are just battle ragged and weary, and they're like gearing up for some big thing, and it's just
like whoever loses, whatever you lost to, that's how you die. So if like someone beats you with rock,
you get stoned.
You get stoned, or it's
scissors, you're stabbed.
You get cut in half or something.
Paper,
smothered,
choking.
Paper, they send you through a shredder.
A little extreme, but
I don't know.
Huh.
Or paper, if you get beaten by paper, you do live, but they like it's a bunch of like they hand you a document. And it's like you lost all your money. You
lost your house. You file for divorce.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of paperwork that you have to fill out. It's just like it's like no, give me the stone to death. I'd rather die.
Okay, those are 2 good mashups.
Not bad.
I like those. You know, maybe not our best, but I think good titles.
Yep.
Good titles.
And that's really what the show's all about.
It is. It's finding that good title and just having an inkling of a story.
Yeah, because I think like I've never been in a pitch meeting to like pitch a script or story idea, you know, for anyone in the business. But I feel like if you just give them like 2 sentences and then just say, all aboard. Yeah. They're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
The money's right there, baby.
I think it was Addams Family when they were pitching that. He just did the theme song like dun-dun-dun-dun, and then the executive went like by just habit, and that was enough for them to go, that is so ingrained in people's head. People know what this is. Yeah. So let's greenlight it, and that's great. Now if someone came to me and was like, okay, we need a movie and it's called All Aboard, and like, okay, it's like Murder on the Orient Express or something. It's something on a train, whatever. But if you just say like, you know, Jumanji meets Snowpiercer and it's called All Aboard, you know, like a board game, it makes it so much better, and then you've sold them.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's time for director versus director, taking 2 directors, making them beat the shit out of each other. No, making them make the other person's piece of media, and who would have done a better job at handling the other person's stuff. So I have a director in a movie. Do you have a director in a movie?
I do.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Robert Rodriguez.
Eggers. Oh, 2 Roberts.
Interesting. The Faculty.
And I chose The Witch.
Okay.
I love The Faculty. Such an underrated gem.
Yeah.
So many celebrities, too.
Mm-hmm.
The Battle of the Robs.
Bobby Rodriguez and Bobby Eggers.
If I picked The Lighthouse, we could have had Robert Pattinson in there.
Oh, shit. Oh, well. Okay, so have you seen The Faculty?
I have.
Okay, good.
I just said it's a great movie, very underrated gem.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was still in not paying attention to you mode.
Just like every podcast.
So I really like this movie, especially looking at his whole filmography. You have your From Dusk Till Dawn, you have your Desperados, and then you have your Spy Kids and
we don't talk about his kids' movies.
All of his weird stuff. Machete. He did Machete, right? Or maybe he was a producer? Did he direct it?
He directed Machete, okay. Because he directed the commercial, the trailer during the Grindhouse stuff.
He did, not Death Proof, he did, what's the other one called? Planet Terror.
Planet Terror, yeah.
Yeah, he did that one. But I think the movie that stands out for him is The Faculty, because it's a Midwestern slice of life, coming of age high school story that just happens to have aliens. Mm-hmm. And even though he does weird stuff and horror stuff, I don't think of him as doing sci-fi stuff. So Aliens is very weird, and it has a nice zombie aspect. It's just so different than his other things. I think it's one of his best.
Yeah, I think Sin City is his big one, and probably From Dusk Till Dawn is the one after that. And I 100% get that. I think, Sin City, when it first came out, was just like, holy shit, this movie is awesome. I've never seen anything like it before. But I don't think it's really aged as well. But it's been a while since I've seen it. Yeah. But I think of all of his movies, The Faculty might actually be my favorite of his.
It's great.
Yeah, which might be a controversial opinion, but I think just from its simplicity, it's really fun and engaging, and I think that the creature's really cool. Yeah. And
how they defeat the creature is really different.
I think there's great performances all throughout. For someone who's so very much stylized, seeing him do something that isn't really all that stylish and is so simple, it's just like, I'd like to see him do more of these kind of movies. Maybe he wouldn't make it now. Maybe that's just like, oh, this is a low budget thing that I can make, and I'd just rather make it now than not anything at all. But yeah, I think The Faculty is underrated and more people should see it.
Definitely. And we both have said it before, The Witch is amazing.
Yeah, well, it's hard because I wanted to pick someone sort of out of the box, and he's made 2 movies so far, and Northman's coming out soon, that we both have loved and are so weird that it kind of feels like who else would do these. Yeah. So I was worried whoever you pick probably couldn't replicate them, but I think Robert Rodriguez is a big enough weirdo where he might make an interesting film, actually.
Yeah. Let's look at these one by one. Who do you want to work on first?
Let's go with, I think Rodriguez would be the easiest person to, since he's got a bigger filmography. Let's see his version of The Witch, because I think we're going to really have to break down what Edgar's Faculty is.
I'm not sure if I would like this, because he does, a lot like Quentin Tarantino, music really drives a lot of his scenes, and he doesn't slow down and have somber moments. It's a little more bombastic. Right. And The Witch is a very slow-paced, creeping dread movie, and Robert Rodriguez is not very subtle for a lot of that. I'd say maybe the closest kind of, the in Sin City, the Elijah Wood fight where he's, it's like that's creepy enough, but it's still jumping around, high kicks, slashing blood everywhere.
Wirework stuff, yeah.
Exactly. So what does his Witch look like? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think with The Witch, it's all about sort of this subtle dread and just this looming threat that's slowly taking out your family one by one, and this dive into sort of insanity and everything. And it's just where with Rodriguez, I think he would probably make The Witch kind of like the Anne Hathaway witches, from the movie The Witches. Yeah. Because you don't really ever see the witch
not really
at all. You kind of see her hands and stuff, and get the sense that it's this creepy, menacing thing. But whenever you see the spoiler at the end of the Witch, you see witches all around a fire, but they're all hot naked ladies who just float up into the air, if I remember correctly.
I don't know if they're all hot naked.
Yeah,
ladies?
They're just but they look like normal women.
Ladies, yeah.
They're normal women, is what I mean. They're not grotesque, horrible creatures. I think Robert Rodriguez would take the witch, make her a character.
Yeah, you definitely
make her terrifying and be this, or maybe more like Drag Me to Hell, that kind of woman, and have that be the looming threat, and it'd be more of a, instead of the families really going insane over time, it's just that witch infecting each member and taking them out one by one, and maybe a more murderous way. I'm sure that you could play with insanity aspect of it, and then it's bringing what she has like a boyish name in
Thomason.
Thomason, yeah. Bringing in Thomason at the end, it's like maybe that witch dies, but then Thomason becomes the new power.
I can see him doing a thing where everybody sees the witch differently. So the little boy sees the hot, sexy lady. Maybe the mother sees a kindly neighbor, and the father sees her. I mean, maybe he sees her for her true form, and maybe Thomason,
or maybe I think Thomason would see her as the true form. The dad might be as like a father kind of figure, because maybe it's like
he sees her as helpless child that he would need to take care of. Something. So, and maybe they don't all see her at the same time, but they would all talk about this person they have met, and this person in town, this woman picking berries in the woods, and she would be infecting them one by one, making promises on delicious desires or whatever it is.
Because if I remember correctly, there isn't a whole lot of like creepy. I mean, there's creepy imagery, obviously, but it's more like just unsettling atmosphere more than it's like they're not seeing ghosts or creatures.
Yeah, you're not
like
seeing this thing going through the woods, but
I think you'd see a lot more gross stuff, and you'd see like this witch who's like
cauldron, and
you'd see like pus like oozing down her face, and like he'd make it gross.
She would be a horrible hag monster for sure.
And not just it's necessarily her, like maybe the things that she summons are terrible.
True.
Like
and there's a scene where like they sacrifice the baby. I think that would be a little more bombastic.
Yeah.
I think it being subtle was really horrifying in The Witch.
Yeah, just like
you just know what happened without seeing it. I think maybe not necessarily we'd see a baby getting killed, but it'd be a little more obvious. You put the baby on the butcher block, that's all bloody, and then you see the butcher knife go up and down, and then there's silence.
Yeah. Or you do a thing where, because like in The Witch, you see her just like churning a thing, and you just know like, oh, that's just baby paste. But it's like
talk about baby food.
But there's never anything after that, so you just know that the witch ate the baby. But what if there's a scene where it's like, oh, the kindly neighbor comes, it's just like, oh, I baked you a pie, my dear, and then like they start eating, and it's like, oh, this is so good, but then you like cut to the inside of the pie, and it's just like this oozing, gross like
they
meat
don't
pie.
see it,
but they don't see it.
Like, oh, what a wonderful apple pie,
and
then it cuts to and you hear the flies buzzing, and you see a fingernail, and someone like, oh, did I get a seed? And they think they spit out a seed, but it's actually a tooth, something,
a little baby finger. Oh, gross.
So like one of my favorite shots, and they used it in the trailer, is when Thomason is playing peekaboo with the baby, and then looks, and it's gone, and you just see like, as if like the flash went by, and
there's just like a little
rustle of something had scampered through. I think with Robert Rodriguez, you would have had like a huge gust of wind and a zoom to her face and a blood curdling scream. It would just be so much bigger than what Robert Eggers does. But I think if you allowed him to take some liberties with the script, he can make a really fun witch story.
Yeah, and it's like, obviously the Witch is great and we love it, and it is all atmosphere and mood. But I think if you went the other way with Rodriguez and kind of make it a gross out, not necessarily gross out story, but have these gross out elements,
visceral.
And more just like grotesque, gory elements to it, I think it could be really good.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be as
it wouldn't win the awards, but I bet the audiences would like it more.
Yeah.
Because remember when we saw
people
were like, don't see it, go see Deadpool instead.
Yeah.
The Witch is stupid.
We walked out of that movie being the only people who liked it,
Yeah.
and we were just like, these people are dumb.
Like, there were actively people stopping other people to say, don't go see The Witch.
It's not scary.
It's not scary. Not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Can't even understand what the
supposed to be
fuck you're saying. People are dumb. Go see the fart and dick joke movie with Deadpool, because it's funny because of dicks and farts.
I mean, I like the Deadpool movie.
Yeah, it was fine too, but it's no Witch.
But it's no, yeah. Anyway.
All right, so what about Robert Eggers' The Faculty? And it's hard to say, like, oh, he'd make it a little more down to earth, because it's not super far-fetched. It doesn't have that CW shine of, this isn't real reality.
Yeah.
This is a heightened reality. So maybe he would make it... Did you see Brick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it would be even more like Brick, where it's much darker and a little more noirish, and doesn't have that bright sheen. Yeah.
See, I was kind of thinking it'd be in terms of mood and atmosphere, since that's kind of Edgar's thing, is it'd be It Follows-esque, where there's like, oh, there's the alien element to it, but like you kind of get that there's an alien element to it like right away.
Pretty
where
early.
this one, I think you would spend half the movie going like, everyone's acting like really weird. What's going on? And people are like doing that, like they're riding the bus, and Elijah Wood character's looking out, and there's just like a bunch of like random people scattered throughout the football field, and it looks like they're just kind of like watching him.
Watching
go away.
him specifically.
Yeah, watching
yeah.
him specifically. And he's
Oh
just
yeah,
like,
that'd be great. He's turning and he's watching all of them, and then when he looks back at his classmates, everyone on the bus is looking back at him too.
or there's the star football player, and he's like, there's the big game, and everyone's cheering, they're running, and he's like, and he goes to throw the football, and then he stops, and then he just like doesn't do anything, and he gets like tackled, and then maybe he's like just starts spewing all, I don't know, you could do it like a bunch of stuff. It'd just be like all these people that the dorky kid is looking at, and just like, oh, these are the people who are going to go on to do great things. It's like, what's happening to them? Like, why are they doing this? And just like, he needs to pair with all the different kids and the drug dealer, and I don't know, I think you could do something where the alien invasion is way more menacing, and then it's like, okay, well, how do we stop this thing? And then once you get to the end and see the big bad boss mother alien or whatever, you're just it's like so fucking terrifying, because you didn't know that this thing was like a thing.
Yeah, if you played it more as a what is going on, not a how do we survive the alien invasion, because it could be like, are they zombies? Is this a virus outbreak? I don't know what's going on. And then by the end of it, it is aliens. That's a good twist, because you just think like, oh, is it a satanic cult or whatever? And he's really good at slow tension building.
Yeah.
Not knowing what's going on in the school would be very interesting, and then pull the rug out from under you, and nope, alien invasion.
Yeah. I think it'd be a creepy movie, because I mean, The Faculty is essentially, it's almost an action film, I think, because just as how fun it is.
Yeah.
I think this version of The Faculty would not be fun. It would just be like slow burn, menacing.
That's why I kind of imagine Brick, because Brick isn't a fun movie.
Yeah.
It is a very slow.
Brick's cool as shit, though.
It is. It really is.
And I think you could even do a thing where, like, maybe Elijah Wood's character, I'm just assuming he's the lead in this movie,
Sure,
because
why not?
Elijah Wood's great. But you could even do a thing where, like, because they're mind control aliens, like, what if Elijah Wood does get mind controlled, and then you have these, like, psychedelic moments where maybe he's, or like because he took Josh Hartnett's drugs, they do get into his brain, but because his brain is altered away, it's like kind of keeping him in an in-between. So he's like, I realize like I'm not having full control over my body, but I'm seeing these visions, and you have these like, kind of how we've seen the trailer of The Northman, of these weird psychedelic scenarios where Bjork's saying weird shit or whatever, or like The Lighthouse where he's like having sex with mermaids. You just have these like, you can have these psychedelic weird trippy moments where they're either on drugs, or like the alien, we're seeing through the alien's eyes, or both. And I think you could do some weird trippy stuff with that. And it's like, okay, and that's how he learns like, oh, we can kill these aliens with drugs, because I was bitten while I was high by accident,
and it couldn't assimilate
with me, so it died from that. So it's like, okay, we'll just inject everyone with drugs and save the day.
They do something kind of similar in Slither. Like, it jumps in her mouth and it like bites her, or she bites it, and she's able to kind of see what happened with these aliens on their home planet. And it was a little bit of a, like, they could have cut it completely, but it was just an interesting little exposition of the motivation of the monsters. And I could see a similar thing with that. They want to take us all. Yeah. All right. So a lot of how I make my choice for these are usually like, who's gonna add something to it to make it potentially better, and maybe not even better, but add something different to it. I think I have to go with Robert Rodriguez's The Witch. I think even though he's not going to make a better movie, he's going to make a more interesting movie. And he's going to do something different than what we already saw. I think Robert Eggers' The Faculty, he may be a better filmmaker, but I don't know if he's going to add enough to make it different enough to make it worth even doing.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of hoping you'd pick Spy Kids, because I'd like to see Robert Eggers do a kids movie.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, since Robert Eggers is still very early in his career. Only like his third movie is just coming out.
And hey, this is called The Faculty, and he's had the something for all of his movies, so why not?
Yeah. But so it's at the point where it's just like, at this point, anything Robert Eggers comes out with, until he makes something bad, I'm seeing all of his shit. So like, if I heard Robert Eggers is remaking The Faculty, I'd be excited for that, even though that's not something I necessarily need.
No. That's definitely a movie you do not need a remake.
Yeah.
There's no way you really...
No, for sure. But it just... Robert Eggers, The Faculty, adjacent, whatever version that is.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, Robert Eggers making a movie? Great.
Cool.
I'm there. But at the same time, I know that I won't have a good time at a Robert Eggers movie. I'll just go out of that going like, wow, that was cool that I didn't think I'd see. Where like a Robert Rodriguez movie, when he hits, I think it's like every time I come out of there, it's like, man, I'm glad he's making movies, because he makes fun shit that like no one else really makes anymore. Even if they're not necessarily great films, they're a lot of fun. Not counting his kid stuff. That kid stuff doesn't exist.
But he has
I'll give you Spy Kids 1, but after that, I don't care.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So I would probably lean towards Robert Rodriguez's. They're both of them being Roberts is fucking me up, because like I pick Roberts, but they're both wrong. So yeah, I'd go with.
Do you want Bob or Bobby?
Yeah, I'll go with Robert Rodriguez's The Witch, because I want to see what weird, gross stuff he comes up with.
Yeah, and I think he would make it a different enough movie that you feel you're watching something new. Where Eggers as The Faculty is, I've seen this before. It's just a different take.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, this is good episode. I like all these mashups and fights and verses and stuff. Rising Tide, all aboard, and Robert Rodriguez's The Witch. Big winners today.
Shout out to Roberts everywhere.
So I love doing these. I want to keep doing them. This is my favorite thing that we do, and I want to hear what everybody thinks about them. Do you think we're a bunch of hacks and we don't know what we're talking about, or do you think this is a fun game as well, and you want to put in your 2 cents? So if you want to give us a mashup or a director versus director, you can email us at wrplpodcast@gmail.com, or find us on Instagram or Twitter, WRPL Podcast on both of those. Send us your thoughts. As always, I'm Ben.
And I'm Steve.
Keep consuming, everyone.